Tonight, a full report. First, here is Britt Hume.
The bad news was announced to a congressional hearing by the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Only 2 members were present, both Democrats, eager to hear the numbers. And they are grim. Joblessness among adult men up from 7.2% in November to 8%, highest since World War II. In manufacturing, unemployment jumped from 9.4% to 11.8%, with the bombed-out auto industry especially hard hit. Unemployment up there from 15.8% in November to 21.7%.
I just want to say at the outset that I think these figures this morning are devastating.
This recession is a Reagan recession. It is the direct result of Reagan tight money and Reagan high interest rates.
Today's figures and the reaction to them show what a difficult and tricky political problem the economy is. A year ago, the nation's worst problem was said to be inflation. By midsummer, it had become high interest rates. And now, beyond doubt, it is unemployment. Britt Hume, ABC News, on Capitol Hill.
This is Sam Donaldson. President Reagan, on his way out of the White House for a weekend at Camp David, voiced sympathy for the unemployed, but also continued determination not to deviate from his economic game plan.
Well, I think it's tragic. It's been coming on for a long time. I'm hoping, and that's why we have our program in place, and I think it's the only way to get us back to where we can provide the jobs for the people.
Well, is it necessary to bring down inflation? Do we have
No. And anyone who suggests that this is a deliberate part of bringing down inflation is, again, inventing something out of whole cloth. No.
When will it start picking up?
Well, I think that all of us expect there's going to be a few months of low period. We can't help that. But I think that as we get down toward the spring and going into the summer, we're going to see the economy begin to come back.
Most economic forecasts agree that the economy will come back later this year. But deliberate or not, the unemployment rate is likely to go even higher before that happens. Privately, Mr. Reagan's advisors now expect well over 9%. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
This is Stephen Ogg in Washington. This year, unions are scheduled to negotiate agreements covering about 4.5 million workers. Major contracts up in addition to the auto workers and their 750,000 members include oil refiners, the oil, chemical, and atomic workers, 55,000 members. The refinery workers bargain locally, and about 4,000 of them walked out at 2 Texas refineries today. The issues include pensions and job security as big oil companies try to shut down older refineries. Trucking, the Teamsters Union, 300,000 members. About 50,000 are out of work. With deregulation, there's new competition from non-union firms. The union may settle for work rule changes allowing fewer employees and smaller wage increases. Rubber, the United Rubber Workers, 42,000 members. Competition from overseas and from plants covered by unions with lower paid workers could mean smaller wage increases. Meatpacking, the United Food and Commercial Workers, 50,000 members. Low-wage, non-union competition could keep wage demands down in order to retain jobs at the big unionized packers. Traditionally, these industries have been covered by single contracts to which all the firms agree. But look what's happening. The meatpackers' contract doesn't expire till August, but already Armour and Wilson have settled. The result, wages for workers at the 2 firms will be frozen for at least 2 years. 1982 could turn out to be an historic turning point in American labor relations. Not only do unified wage patterns appear to be breaking up, but salary demands and contract settlements are smaller than they have been, and that should help moderate inflation. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
Still ahead, the 2 largest antitrust suits in U.S. history are both settled out of court. Terrible weather around the world as California continues to dig out, and Britain battles its worst blizzard in years. And
a chance to show the world's great road cars just how good an American car can be. The name of this great new car is Pontiac 6000, an exciting new front-wheel drive automobile that does its talking where it counts, on the road. It's loaded for bear with an electronically fuel-injected 4-cylinder engine, McPherson strut front suspension, power rack and pinion steering, and available V6 or diesel. So let's go Pontiac 6000. Now, the excitement really begins.
The federal government today dropped 2 long-standing antitrust suits against 2 giants of American business, AT&T, the telephone company, and IBM, the computer colossus. With the story, here is Bill Greenwood.
The AT&T settlement is the most expensive in history, giving Ma Bell 18 months to sell the 22 phone companies that provide local service to virtually everyone in America. They're valued at $80 billion, two-thirds of the company's assets. But AT&T gets to keep its nationwide long-distance telephone system, the Bell Laboratories research subsidiary, and Western Electric, which manufactures telephone equipment. Reporters were told it was either that or risk losing even more in a lawsuit that has cost the phone company $36 million in legal expenses.
I believe we've chosen the right course, although clearly it was not the solution that we sought.
There are some big pluses for AT&T. It loses its most heavily regulated subsidiaries. It loses 80% of its costly physical plant while retaining its most profitable operations. It's nothing for AT&T stockholders or employees to worry about. They're not expected to suffer any losses. But it could spell trouble for IBM, since the agreement would let AT&T compete in data processing. Analysts believe that's one reason the government was willing to dismiss the 13-year-old IBM case. The suit accused IBM of monopolizing the computer industry, but the Reagan administration did not believe it could win. Officials say competition has increased significantly in the 13 years since the IBM case was first filed. They insist today's decision was not a pro-business effort to weaken antitrust enforcement. Bill Greenwood, ABC News, Washington.
One other note, when advance word of the settlements reached Wall Street today, trading of both AT&T and IBM was suspended.
You've got a ticket on the Heartburn Express. If one Rolaids tablet can't cut the mustard, you should know about one Tums and one Rolaids tablet both neutralize the stomach acid in seconds. But when your stomach turns out 1/3 more acid, Tums can still absorb it. Rolaids can't. Not in seconds, not ever. That's why you should switch to
In Northern California, the cleanup goes on following this week's devastating mudslides. The major effort is now shifted to Santa Cruz, south of San Francisco, where today the full scope of the disaster became known. Ken Kashiwahara reports.
In Santa Cruz County today, we got our closest look at the extent of the largest devastation of the storm. In the Love Creek area, half of a mountainside fell off, leaving about a square mile of mud and downed trees where thick forests and houses once stood. Workmen are continuing to cut through the debris, searching for as many as 20 residents believed to be buried under it and presumed dead. Clothing is scattered about on trees, and parts of houses stick out through the branches. It is the only evidence that 6 to 8 homes were once here. The death toll from the storm now stands at 24, and damage estimates have exceeded the $300 million mark. But amidst all the devastation in Love Creek stands what is being called a miracle. This house. The mudslide and fallen trees simply went around it, missing the structure by only a few feet. And those who live here have only one explanation for it.
Providence? Really? Really? The hand of God was here, all around it.
Meanwhile, parts of Santa Cruz County have been hit hard by a water crisis. Restaurants and businesses that use water have been closed, and National Guardsmen are dispensing water from tanks, either because residents don't have any or because the water in their homes is undrinkable. But water and mud weren't the storm's only destructive forces. In the Lake Tahoe area, about 3,000 residents are stranded by 10 feet of snow. Snowplows have been unable to get through so far. Some residents are running out of food, and the roofs of 2 houses reportedly caved in. But Northern Californians may not have seen the last of the storm's after effects. Today, workmen were sandbagging the Sacramento River Delta, where rising tides over the weekend could cause flooding in the farmland below. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News in Northern California.
Kmart. Dollar Day. Slashed prices. Kmart price. On hundreds of items throughout the store. Your savings store. Extra savings. Kmart. In every department during Dollar Day. At Kmart. Check your newspaper supplement for the prices. Oh, prices. And save. Save during Dollar Day. Now through Saturday. At Kmart.
Only one American car company's sales were up in '81. Only Chrysler. Ford and GM were down. Even all the imports combined were down. Chrysler was up because Chrysler has the cars, quality, and prices America wants. And now, Chrysler helps you buy a new car with a check you can keep or apply to your down payment on most new '81s and '82s. Make your best deal, then get a car Get a check direct from Chrysler. Get $300 to $1,000 from Chrysler. Check it out.
Fresh perked ground roast coffee. There's nothing like it. Or is there? Is there another way to get that ground roast look? That wonderful aroma? That delicious fresh perked taste? Ah, Taster's Choice. Freeze-dried as soon as it's perked to capture real ground roast flavor. Taster's Choice, regular and green label decaffeinated. Looks, smells, and tastes like ground roast coffee. Ah.
The administration said today it may require Medicare patients to pay 10% of their hospital costs for stays longer than 1 day. It's claimed this change would save the government at least $500 million a year, but Republican Senator John Heinz of Pennsylvania said such an increase in out-of-pocket expenses would mean that fewer of the elderly would obtain the care they need.